There we go. A little slow on recording, but hey, hi, hello, welcome back, Alexandrian Codex. I kind of just want to talk today. Not really about anything in particular. Sort of just want to talk. I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 Alpha, as I know a lot of people have, and I really don't have anything to say except positive things about it. I haven't published the series I did in the last Hearts of Iron 4 mod look at with the New Order because my tone overwhelmingly at the end of the series, as is so often the case, was quite negative and critical, and you know, that's part and parcel for me. But I don't want to be perpetuating this standard that hostility, anger, criticism are more intelligent, more refined, more nuanced ways of appreciating media, particularly games media, than something with less intensity. You know, a lot of my frustration that gets redirected towards bad game design, towards all sorts of things that are meaningful and important, but perhaps shouldn't upset me quite as much as they do. It's not the individual things, it's that they represent larger trends in the world that we live in and exist in. That tends to get me spiraling and set off on tangents, and we live, most of us anyway, in a deeply unhealthy society. In a deeply insular, ignorant, and unwittingly harmful society. I say unwittingly harmful because the vast majority of people do not engage with the apparatus of consumption, production, reproduction, etc. with malice or malign intent. There are certainly bad actors, bad designers, bad engineers, bad operators, and inhumane beneficiaries. I think the cogs and gears of the machine aren't rotten, aren't rusted. It's the gnarled and wretched intent of the hands guiding the apparatus that are leading it to its own end. I want to think of myself as a critical person, because I am. But more so than that, and superseding that, what I want to be portrayed as and what I want to perpetuate is compassion and love. Empathy. Empathy is maybe above all a core tenet, maybe the core tenet of who I am as a human being, how I self-identify and how I try to live my life. It brings to mind that one of the most heartbreaking moments of my last long relationship, was when I was actually designing the little avatar that I use for a lot of my social platforms on here. That little dude. And the little dude has been a design I've used off and on since I was 13, 14 years old. I am alive. But to me, it's always, the little rectangular guy has always just been kind of cartoonishly simple and happy. But my partner at the time when I was designing the asset, let's say, and her take on it was much snarkier, much more cliche, games critic, rad dude kind of take on it. And I don't think I ever brought it up with her, but that was one of the it was a moment where it was very clear that I was doing a misservice to myself and the people around me in representing and expressing consistently who I am and what I'm about. Did I date a Polygon writer? No, but I was being perceived as one, let's say, and there are great people at Polygon. Okay, there are a few great people at Polygon. Yeah, I guess it was a conflagration of her internalized concept of what a gamer is. And I don't really identify as a gamer, but you know, she hated video games. She didn't hate board games. She liked deduction games. Because her dad dealt with, amongst other ways, her biological father, or not biological father, her father dealt with his depression and poverty and existential despair with video games as one of his coping mechanisms. And, you know, the way that our parents cope with existence and painful existence at that, they can hurt us, right? Knowingly or not, wittingly or not. There were a lot of ways that relationship, in retrospect, was a bad match in a lot of ways, and really only hung on as long as it did out of desperation and want on both of our accounts. Maybe a bit more so mine than on hers, because she had the good sense to want to do something healthier sooner than I did. I woke up today, and let's put this into context. I've only been awake for about 2.5 hours. I woke up today and I don't know what word to express the feeling that I had upon waking, the feeling that I was getting from my dreams. Normally, it's pretty clear, right? If I'm having a lot of anxiety and nightmares, you know, I'm relieved to be awake, but exhausted. I might even be afraid to go back to sleep. If I've been dreaming about people I've been missing, I'll be wanting to go back to sleep. I'll be yearning and aching and longing, and that's just an awful way to start out the day. Today, though, I think I felt more than anything else a profound sense of absence. I dreamt about people I haven't seen in a long time. I dreamt that I was living in a home I haven't set foot in almost a decade. I dreamt about friend mechanics and family mechanics and dynamics that don't exist anymore. And I didn't wake up with heartbreak and regret and wanting it back, as sometimes I can. Instead, just juxtaposed with my day-to-day, with my lived life and social conditions now. I'm just made very aware of my isolation, my not loneliness, oddly enough, though quite often I am lonely, that was not the predominant feeling. The predominant feeling was a hollow resonance. The ringing of a bell after it stopped being audible, but you can still feel the vibrations in the air. You know what I'm talking about if you've been around big church bells, or the kind of low resonant hum of something that's just below our audio detection frequencies. Not quite to the intensity of running machinery, but more akin to the feeling of a cave, or the feeling of walking through ruins. The hollowness and empty fullness, recognizing that in this space that's now empty, uninhabited, unfilled, that there was once something. Like walking through a dry lake bed and imagining what had been there before. And honestly, I'm kind of dumbfounded by the feeling. It's not a new feeling. But it's not sad, it's not longing, it's not a wanting feeling. It's not leaving me with this impetus or this drive to consume or to reach out or to grab or pull or push. It's just kind of resonating and not spiraling so much as... Yeah, resonating is probably the best word I have for it. It's not a bad feeling, but it's a weird feeling. I sent a message to someone I care a great deal about. After waking up, I dreamt a lot about her. But it feels disingenuous to say that. It feels disingenuous to say that I dreamt about her because I haven't known her in person in, again, a decade, thereabouts. We talk off and on almost every day. She's someone who I confide in maybe more than anyone else. And I'm the same to her. I don't even know what noun to describe our relationship as. She's my friend, absolutely. But there's still romantic feelings there, but it's been so long and we're so physically departed that I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel. I'm not sure what I'd want if we were around each other. So I don't have a good noun for it. It has a feeling. It has a very pronounced feeling, a very strong feeling, but what that feeling is, I can't quite tell you. Not a booty call, but a feels call. I mean, why not both? But yeah, something like that. And this person and I have had a long and varied relationship. And there were times where we have been drastically toxic forces in the other person's life. After we broke up, after we stopped dating, I fixated on them and could not let go of this idea of them, and knowingly or not compared everyone I was dating or wanted to date or who wanted to date me with her as the standard. Not just in terms of personality or physical attractiveness or all the myriad of tiny interlocking ways that we size up knowingly or not potential partners, mates, and friends even. But the unlivable standard, the unfair standard that everyone had to live up to after her was how accepted and loved and seen she made me feel. It's such a damning legacy. That's the thing I wanted back more than anything else in those desperate days, in those fixated, pleadingly pathetic times. I've dated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other people since we dated. I've had romantic relationships with, oh god, at least that many additionally. And some of them were smart enough, sharp enough to catch on to resenting her. For giving me that sense of absence. Yeah, I wouldn't resent my partners for not making me feel as accepted or loved or fully embraced. But it would be a sad disappointment that I would kind of scurry away and reassure myself that eventually we'd get there. Eventually, this person will see all these aspects of me and understand them as intuitively and fully. Or, through communication, effort, vulnerability, and willpower, more so than anything else on both of our parts, that we'd get there. And sometimes we got there. But it took me a long, long time to let go of that fixation. When I first started dating again last year, someone I was very interested in quite early on asked me a pointed question of, directly, are you over your exes? And no, I'm not. I don't think I'll ever be. I feel like that's a capacity that's completely foreign to me, completely alien to me. I don't get over people. I don't obsess over them and stalk them and keep tiny shrines to them. I keep letters. I have a box full of letters from people that I love, from past partners, girlfriends, friends, family. But I feel like it would be denying myself, denying the truth of the fact that I'm not over these people. I'm not over the unique ways that they touch my life and made me feel that no other human being can ever do. And I have no illusions about that. Love is not this monumental, monolithic thing. It's multifaceted, it's complex. People can satisfy you and fill you, and make you feel enriched and supported and loved in ways that other people can't. When I was young, preteen, teenager, 12, 13, I was obsessed with this idea that love was monolithic. That there were people you could be more in love with than the person you were with. And the anxiety and fear of, is this relationship enough? Is this person enough? Is this love I feel enough? Or should I date other people? Will I love other people more? That doubt and that fear was a driving force for me as a teenager. It led me to hurt a lot of good people, including myself, in this paranoid leapfrogging from fancy to fancy, affection to affection. I was completely unaware at the time of the concept of being polyamorous. My only connection to that world was this idea of polygamy, and that is being something that I was taught was bad and wrong. Not really the specifics as to why it was bad and wrong, just that it was. And the specifics are because of the power dynamics involved. But a lot of people's understanding of relationship dynamics aren't nuanced enough to communicate that to a teenager or to another adult. It wasn't until I got to college that the idea of being poly even conceivably occurred to me. Yeah, it resonated a lot with me, but I'm a deeply jealous person. And that jealousy takes root in insecurity and fear. Insecurity and fear that people will find people they like more than me, and they'll leave me for them. And this just isn't in my romantic life, this is in my social life. My friends are my friends just because they don't have better friends. My friends are my friends just because they don't know anyone smarter. They don't know anyone better than me. And the dark side to this feeling is that this logic that I'm settling with all of my friends, with all of my loved ones. They're settling for me, I'm settling for them. None of us are really happy with one another. We all want more. We all feel like we deserve and desperately need more, and we're settling. And we all quietly resent one another for it, but don't bring it up because that's not something you talk about in polite company. I think that's one of my darkest fears, I guess. I call it a fear, but honestly, sometimes it overrides my other ways to think about the world and completely engulfs me. I'm a bad friend. I'm a bad friend. I have friends, I will admit this, that I feel that way about, and I feel incredibly guilty about feeling that way, that they're just not good enough, and I don't know why they're not good enough. They're smart people, they're kind people, they're passionate people, and they clearly and repeatedly demonstrate a desire to be close to me, to have a friendship with me, to continue a dialogue and form social bonds with me. But some sick, egotistic, aristocratic, arrogant self I have scoffs. Even slaps away the hand that they hold out for me when I need desperately someone to hold out a hand for me. Just impetulantly, I don't want your love. I don't want your friendship. I don't like that that's a part of me. But it is. And I try to navigate it. And I try to understand it. and I try to deconstruct it, but it's a part of me. And knowing that it's a part of me convinces me that it's a part of other people too. Maybe not everyone. Maybe it's a part of me because I have underlying conditions that change my cognition and interaction with other human beings. You know, maybe I am sociopathic. I don't think I am. I don't fit a lot of those criteria, but, you know, maybe something to that effect. That feeling, that anxiety, that thing that I wrestle with makes relationships like that I have with Brian or Jubilee, who I was talking about earlier, that much harder to not fixate on and dig my teeth into and not obsess over, but almost obsess over. When I find someone who I know likes me for who I am, who I know values me about as wholly and fully as can be fairly expected of anyone. And I feel that way towards them, this kind of stubborn, bitterly unwavering loyalty. You are good enough. And I know I'm good enough. When you find people that fit. Yeah, I've talked to Brian about this, and it's incredibly reassuring to hear from him that this is a thing he feels too. And this is a struggle he feels too. There's a lot of talks in poly communities about non-hierarchical relationships, romantic relationships particularly, that they practice hierarchical polyamory. I can't take that seriously. I try not to judge other people's relationships, but I judge it in the same way that I judge anarchists. It feels naive to me. It feels naive and not self-aware enough. Because you have hierarchies. We all have hierarchies. Regardless if we want to or not, there are times where if we had to save one of the two people, one of them would be saved. You know, trolley cart dilemmas are pseudo-philosophical circle jerk territory, but they do point to something in all of us where, when pushed to an extreme, we would ultimately make a decision, or our indecision would allow the death of two people, or the distancing of two people. I'd flip a coin, yeah. I can't engage with people like that. I can't trust people like that. I can't trust people who don't have the self-awareness to recognize that they have these deep, complicated, frustrating nuances to themselves in their relationships and their loves. I can't trust the love of someone who says that it's unconditional. I can't trust the love of someone who says that it is non-hierarchical. Because it is. It is. It fucking is. And I know in my heart of hearts, in the deepest pit of my stomach, that there is a person out there, conceivably, who anyone would leave me for. Who anyone would love more than me. And objectively, I don't think they'd be wrong to do so. I don't know, it's a deeply fucked up way to feel, right? And to think about things, but I do. I do. When I was painting today, when I say painting, I'm working on a coffee table that I have. It's, I found it by the dumpster near my apartment about a year ago, dragged it in, disinfected it. Exactly. And I just kind of had it sitting around. I wanted to install a... Oh my god, what are they called? It's a Japanese space heater that's installed in the base of a table. I forget what it's called, but I wanted to install one of those. Never did, because I just got another space heater instead. I've been trying to think about what I wanted to paint on it or decorate it with for a long time. I finally got around to a month ago. Every week or so, I draw or paint on some vines? Let's call them. They're not vines. They're like vines and roots and dead trees all wrapped up into one. It's a image that I've made over and over and over and over since I was a teenager. It's just kind of loose and fluid, but still has rigidity in the way that a lot of plant life does. And I'm really fascinated with that concept, the adherence of solids to movement patterns and flow patterns of liquid, particularly water. There's something deeply beautiful to me about that. Are they good? You know, I have been trained artistically, but with my shaky hands, I can't draw a straight line for the fucking life of me. And paintbrushes are no different, so I resign myself to a bit more of an abstract, let's say. And I'm sure with determined lessons and study, I could get to a point where I could look at it and not think it looks bad, but it doesn't look good. And it looks good. Don't be self-depreciating. It just doesn't look up to the standards of what I'd want if I were getting art from somebody else. Let's put it that way. So 4 dark, spirally vines jutting out of the far corners of this square coffee table, the tendrils of each reaching towards the center but never quite meeting. Feeling out and clawing towards some unseen source of light or energy or nutrition. Some promised horizon. Some nameless ambition. And what I've started layering on top of it is I'm painting with acrylic. I get the entire surface of the table wet. So like a millimeter of water, 1/4 of a millimeter, just enough that the surface tension doesn't break and get the water to spill over the tabletop. And then I add bits of acrylic into that and let the pigment dilute using fluid dynamics from the high concentration area that they start in to the lower concentration areas. I started out with red, blue, and purple because, you know, as evidenced by what's on screen and my aesthetics in general, those colors I probably like the most. I want to loop back and talk more about color once I'm done on this, but the purple did not show up at all. Lilac and violet, they're very subdued colors, and our eyes are not keyed into picking them up. Our eyes will interpret them as blue much more readily than they will purple. So you really got to get a strong violet going on for it to show. Today, all I did was add on another layer on top of it And keep in mind, it's pigment diffused through water, so when the water eventually evaporates, it doesn't like completely cover up what's underneath it. It's more like a coat or a glaze that I'm applying over and over and over. A glaze is actually a really good comparison. It's like a slow glaze. I'm not using an oven to dissipate the binding agent of the pigment. I'm just using the low heat of evaporation to dissipate the binding material, i.e. water. Today I added on green, more purple because the purple segment was just not popping enough, and yellow. And now I want to talk about color, particularly purple and yellow. I didn't grow up liking purple. When I was a child, when I was in kindergarten, I liked blue. Because my eyes were blue, and I thought blue was cool, pretty, strong. It was my mom's favorite color too, and I loved her, and that made me love the color more. I got in a fight in kindergarten with another kid, young boy. Couldn't tell you his name, I moved around schools too often. We got in a fight about if blue or red was a girl's color. We were doing some art project, and we all needed to use our favorite color, and mine was blue, and this other little boy said, "Can't use blue, blue's a girl's color." In retrospect, my heart goes out to that kid because his parents let him down. At the time, I didn't have that capacity. At the time, all I felt was hurt that someone was saying that this thing that I thought was beautiful because it reminded me of someone I loved was bad. I didn't really have the capacity to be like, girls aren't bad. I was raised as a boy, and this was at a Catholic school in the Midwest of the United States. Like, boys rule, girls drool, that kind of gross thing that we let our children believe and adhere to because we're afraid of them developing their sexualities at a young age or having to discuss sexuality or attraction with our children. So instead we give them this really fucked up antagonistic view of the world. Yeah. I responded with rage. Blue was my favorite color for a long time, but that conversation stuck with me. And as I started becoming a teenager, as I got older, I started wearing red more. I started liking maroon more. Not just red, but the darkest red. Because I wasn't just manly. I wasn't just masculine. I had to be the toughest, edgiest, strongest, most unassailable version of that color that I could conceive of. Because my love and my vulnerability and its inadherence to the social norms around me made me vulnerable. So red. But more so than red, black. Black because it feels nigh unassailable as a color palette choice. It's simple, it's strong, it's all-consuming. I love it. I do, but black became a core color choice. I fell in love with a girl from Texas. I mean, head over heels. We talked to each other on the phone every night, made up kids' names for boys and girls, had primary and secondary names. Talked about running away together, wrote each other letters. But you know, I was in Indiana, she was in Texas. I even got my parents to drive me down there once. And we talked for like an hour, sitting on the sidewalk, and that was it. She was some podunk town out in the middle of West Texas, i.e. nowhere. Just a couple of teenagers. Stupid, desperate, lonely, sad teenagers. Her favorite color is purple. So purple started becoming associated in my mind at this young age with love. No, we didn't. Didn't even kiss. Didn't even hold hands, didn't kiss. Think we awkwardly hugged, maybe. Two awkward teenagers, terrified at the pressure of the situation, unsure of what to do. When I say teenagers, I do mean like 13 or 14. Purple became this epitome of love. It became so associated with the concept of love in my head that I have been unwilling and unable to wrest it from that association. If I love someone, I feel purple when I feel things about them. It's hard to describe. So purple came to represent and came to be embodied in a character I dreamed about a lot. Lady Love is what I called the character when I was a teenager. Now I don't know. My eyes cannot roll hard enough. Yeah, I get some synesthesia. But this character, it never looked the same way twice. But there was something like unescapably the same about it. If this were a fictional story, you know, that same thing would be that it's the reincarnation of the same soul in different bodies. Or, you know, something overly romantic and kind of gross to that effect, right? But that was the concept, this internalized character, and I haven't dreamt about that character in a long time, but it's an internalized concept. It's kind of disembodied concept of love. And God, what I want more than anything else. Well, maybe not more than anything else, but more than most things. I want to exude that kind of purple. Not red. Not even black. I want purple to be the mask, the front, the persona that I'm presenting. Purple had been the color I associated with love until dating Cora. Early on, one of the first dates we went on, we were laying in her bed. It's a beautiful room. It was the attic room in late 19th century house here in the south end of Seattle. Beautiful. Up on Beacon Hill. Gorgeous views. Beautiful backyard. Amazing people who live there. There's a bunch of artists and activists and leftists renting out this house that none of us could even dare to dream to afford. She lived in the attic. And the way the light shined in there with the yellow that she had everywhere just made it glow and magical. And, you know, maybe it would have been better if it had just stayed that way. If I'd been on a few dates with her, seen that beauty and magic, and left it. But I didn't. On one of those first dates, we were laying in her bed looking up at the ceiling. She had little lantern lights. There wasn't anything on the ceiling, but it was as beautiful as staring into a night sky. I could not tell you why, but it was. Soft shadows. Something about it. We talked about what colors meant to us. And it didn't line up at all. What love was to me and what love was to her, what good was to me, what good was to her. She felt green, where I felt purple. I wasn't green and she wasn't purple. She was yellow. And I was... You know, I'm not sure what I am. Black, maybe. When I think of yellow now, I think of her. And for the first year that we were separated, it was uncomfortable to think about or to touch on. It was really sore and tender. It is beautiful. It really is. It's beautiful in the way that sunsets are beautiful. My favorite part of the sunset is the purple part, right before it's over, but the yellow is beautiful. It's this beauty that's true and real and warm, but it isn't mine. It's adjacent to it, it's complementary to it. But it's not my world. I hope that she finds that green that she's looking for. I don't think I could ever be it. And I really wish I'd realized that a lot sooner. There wasn't some point I wanted to set about making today. I just have a lot of disparate, sort of disconnected feelings I wanted to talk about and externalize. Kind of tease out and play with. I thought about today getting back into dating, but I'm not there yet. I don't think I'm there yet. Dating online it sucks. And when I was thinking about the idea of hopping back on an OkCupid or Tinder, I was washing the dishes. And by washing the dishes, I mean I still left half of them in the sink, but I did some of them, so depression didn't completely win today. When I was rubbing that blue sponge against the black silverware that I have, and yeah, I bought black silverware. Why? I don't know, I think it's cool. Is it kind of silly? Yeah. Is it a little adolescent? Maybe, but you know, fuck it, it's cool. I was thinking about that thing I was talking about earlier. This notion of, am I good enough? Are they good enough? And I got a flashback to dating in Indiana or in Arizona, being on these sites, and just all the people who would not fit with me once in a million years. Radically different tastes in entertainment, in politics, in religion, in so many facets and capacities that I find important and give life beauty and meaning and color to me. It was hell. It was hell. And it fed into this desperation of maybe I should settle, maybe I should settle. And this convincement, this assuredness that people were settling for me. Dating people in Seattle, moving to Seattle. It's a bigger city, for one. It's on the West Coast, for two. And it's fucking Seattle, for three. The number of people who... I honestly... I get overwhelmed by how many cool, passionate, incredibly attractive people there are. And I'm convinced that not a single one of them will want anything to do with me. That's why I'm not dating. That's why I'm not trying to date, because I don't want to be going into a relationship looking for that affirmation to be given to me. My insecurities should not be somebody else's burden. It doesn't feel like a healthy or responsible place to enter into a relationship with someone. So when I feel like I'm not good enough, what often in the past that's led me to is one of two things. Either pushing myself to be better in whatever arbitrary way I'm determining better, or to be depressed. And, you know, depression wins out quite a lot, but baby steps, right? Baby steps. You don't just dramatically change facets of your personality and behavior overnight. And sometimes not at all. I think there's a third path. I think there's definitely a lot of validity to just accepting that I am who I am, my limitations, my faults, and trying to see myself in an objective light that isn't quite as harsh as the light that I shine on myself. When I look at myself with any sort of objectivity, I'm as critical of myself. Oh, I'm more critical of myself than anything I've ever been critical of on this channel or anywhere online. When I look at myself critically, I shred myself emotionally. My eyes are broken and can't see the world. I'll never be able to really truly feel the sort of intimacy of looking into somebody else's eyes because I'm always done it trapped behind a wall of glass. And even if I had contacts, it wouldn't be the same. So I'd need corrective surgery, and I can't afford that. That my teeth aren't perfectly white or perfectly maintained, and they're crooked in a way that past people have called cute, but I just look at and cringe. My hairline is high, and I don't know if it's receding or not. Probably is. I mean, genetically, my dad's hair is stuck around forever, but his dad is, like, straight up bald. So, like, who knows what's gonna happen? The dudes on the other side of my family all have, like, full heads of hair well into late age, so I don't fucking know what's gonna happen. And, like, I don't know. Does it look good? Does it look not good? I hate it. I hate it. I got told once, and only by one person ever, that my ears were big. We were teenagers, it was a fight, and they were trying to hurt me. And no one has once said anything about my ears except for that one encounter with someone who I thought was my friend. And now I'm insecure about the size of my ears. I think they do pop out a little. Are they big? Are they not? Something totally outside of my control. Unless, elective surgery. And then this fucking fixating and harsh critique and deconstruction of every facet of my being. And by the time I'm done, I'm standing there looking in the mirror, and I don't have the willpower to want people to love me. I don't have the capacity to want to be accepted, because I can see quite plainly all of the tiny, intricate reasons why somebody might not. I'm just talking about physical appearance here. Hell, if we start talking about introspection when it comes to my personality, same shit. We convince ourselves that we deserve, in some capacity, the conditions to which we are subjected to or participating in. I don't know how to healthily get to a place where I don't internalize and disparage myself in quite so many ways. A way to do it, and a way that I have been doing it, is working out more. Trying to look like a person that I want to look like. Try to be a person that I want to be like. Different hairstyles, different fashion choices, tattoos, stuff like that. Body modification, basically. I mean, there are extreme cases of body modification when it comes to tattooing, scarification, elective surgery, things like that, but also when it comes to just what you eat, what you don't, when you work out, how you work out, for how long you work out, how consistently you work out, what kind of physical activities you engage in day to day, how much sunlight you get, etc., etc., etc. And it would be fun, in a way. And when I was young, I thought about it as being kind of this fun, exciting thing that, once I'm old enough, once I have expendable income, it'll be fun to be able to just accessorize myself, to look and perform the way I want to wear what I want to wear, look the way I want to look. And then, I've gotten older and I've realized, well, that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy that's only accessible for people from a certain financial bracket. Some of us, can do small things to move in that direction, but grand sweeping wardrobe changes, stylizing hair in strange and professionally designed ways, changing eye pigmentation, getting professionally done makeup, even expertly designed and administered tattoos or scarification or piercings. All comes with a cost. We do all of these things in part to attract other people, but in part as taking care of ourselves, treating ourselves mentally. It's a crime that people who are transitioning pay money to do so. Becoming your idealized self, your true self, should not be something that people have to slave away for to make happen. We should value human beings enough that we should help one another become who we want to be and who we want to be seen as, and who we are. My gender identity and expression is something that it's exhausting, frankly, to think too long about. I don't know is really where it ends up at the end of the day. I don't know. It depends on the day. Some days I am happy presenting masculinely. Other days it's depressing as hell. Yeah, if you want to be happy, you just have to work hard. Yeah. That's how that works. Totally. Other days, like, there are days where I resent that I didn't feel as queer as I do when I was a teenager. Because when I was a teenager, would have been the right time to start hormonal treatments to give me the sort of ambiguous gender presentation that I want. But because I didn't do it then, my voice is always going to sound like this. Yes, I can do voice training, I can do things like that, but it's not, I don't think I can be that version of an idealized self. And, like, I don't have a single idealized self. I am multiple idealized selves. I see multiple paths for me, different people I can become, who I'd be okay being. And that's why I say I don't know when it comes to gender identity. When it comes to people asking me, well, what do you want to do? Bitch, I don't know. There's too much out there. I only have one fucking life and I want to do all of it. And I can't. I want to spend lifetimes doing things that are wildly incompatible with one another. Mutually exclusive. I resent that I only have one life to live. Sometimes I resent that I have to live this one at all. So, there's a bit of contradiction there. Yeah, if I knew I'd be working on it, that's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, thank you. My dad called today when I was still in bed. Normally Dad talks my ear off for about an hour, and I do like when he calls, but I can normally guarantee that I'm in for a long chat. But today he was just talking on his drive home, so I didn't have to brutally excuse myself because I was still waking up and desperately needed to pee. But he was telling me about what had been going on in his life. He's still working as a photographer. And he was like, so what about you? I'm like, Dad, man, I'm sorry, but I don't have anything new. My lifelines are going to hold out until the end of December, it looks like. After that, I have no idea what happens. I'm still applying for work, which is partially true. I've applied for like 30 positions this month, but honestly, for the last week, I haven't been applying to anything because I've been depressed. And I don't want to work. I don't want to work at any of these fucking places, and I deeply resent that I have to just take whatever will be handed down to me and be grateful for it, when what I want is a life of prosperity and fulfillment and satisfaction in building and participating in a community to build a better fucking world, and what I have to settle for is some goddamn corporate bullshit working as an administrative assistant or working in accounts payable at some company I've never fucking heard of, but I'm supposed to write a goddamn cover letter telling them how much I want to work at their piece of shit company. No, I'm not okay. I bet that sounded terrible through the mic. So no, I haven't been applying to things. Are you winning, son? Dad, none of us are winning. I think that's the maddest I've ever gotten on anything I've recorded. I try not to yell. I try not to get angry. Because I have a deep capacity for anger. I have a burning capacity for rage. I used to get into fights as a kid all the time. I don't mean yelling matches. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, the yelling. I'm like, oh God, OBS isn't gonna balance this out, but I'm pissed and I want to feel it. I used to get in fist fights as a kid. I mean, if you've seen me, I'm not a large person, but I got a heart full of anger and rage and spite and vindictive fury that I try so hard not to feed. But no, I didn't go off on my dad like I just went off on you. I just said, no, I haven't gotten anything new to talk about. I'm still supposedly owing unemployment $16,000. Made my first payment yesterday of $480 of money that I can't afford to be giving, and I have to be doing that every month. I'm definitely only making it to the end of December. And I haven't heard back from the appeals court because why would I? It took them 4 fucking months to tell me that I wasn't accepted and that I retroactively needed to give all the money back. And normally, this is the part where I try to assuage myself by reminding myself of how privileged I am in how many ways, and trying to add that as a caveat that I am aware of the suffering of the world around me, and I'm not so wrapped up in my own problems that I'm blind to the problems of people around me, and the importance of a platform like this, regardless if I have an audience of 1 or 1 million, is to emphasize people who need more than I do, who are suffering more than I do, who need your aid and attention and efforts more than I do. I need help. I do. But there are so many people who need help so much more than I do that it feels just ridiculous to ask. And I don't even know what sort of help to ask for. Like, yeah, you know, money would be sweet, but that's not the crux of my issue. The crux of my issue is that I have to exist in this system that is horrible. Utterly horrible. Now, I want to be clear, some of these positions I'm applying to, I do want, but I know I'll never be called back for. I'm applying at games companies that I actually love and respect their work and really like their design philosophy and their products. I'm never going to hear from them. Sometimes I'll get a, sorry, you've been rejected, but that's probably all I'm ever going to hear from any of them. I applied to museums and universities here who I would be thrilled to work for. I'm never going to hear back from any of them. And this is the real fucking tragedy. I don't not want to work. I don't want to just subsist on unemployment or universal basic income. I don't want to just sit at home playing video games all day. I am bored as shit of doing this. I desperately want something more meaningful in my life. But the ways that I feel most able to contribute and most excited to contribute are being actively, consistently denied to me. Day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year of applying. I have not stopped applying to these positions since I started applying to positions. It's been a decade. No, the system doesn't work. No, I can't get the jobs I want. It doesn't matter how educated or intelligent or eloquent I am. It doesn't matter my aptitude for learning, my aptitude for critique. None of it matters. What matters is who you know and who is more powerful than the person who's giving out that position, who can get you that position by telling them to do so. Shove non-binary into your CV when applying jobs for some of the companies. Yeah. That's fair, and it would root out a lot of people I don't want to work for anyway. I tend to do that when the United States is part of proving that they're not discriminating based on race or gender. You have to say what your race and gender are. Most just have male, female, and prefer not to say as the options. So putting NB on my resume somewhere might make sense. I really despise the idea that cover letters are necessary. Bitch, I gave you a resume that has URLs on it to my professional website, and professional is a generous word, but that website has URLs to every facet of my life. Anything you want to know about me is out there. You know, I know, we both fucking know it's out there. You want to learn more about me? There you go. Just do your work. I don't work for you. I'm not gonna sit down and write you a page-long paper on why you should hire me. That's unpaid labor, and you don't deserve a goddamn minute of my time unless you're paying me. God, I hate America. I hate capitalism so much. Because I'm privileged. I grew up in, middle class, lower middle class probably, but middle class. I am white and masculine presenting most of the time and straight enough to present that way that I get so much fucking privilege. And I'm feeling this cheated and maligned and just abused by this horrible system. And more than 60% of America is worse off than I am. And they ask for nudes when applying to fry cook job at Mickey D's yet? Nah, I don't have them big titties, so they're not interested, unfortunately. I think that's what's holding me back. Yeah, I'm expressing a lot of anger, right? And a lot of rage and a lot of frustration. And you gotta understand, when I'm doing that, when other progressives and leftists and communists and socialists are doing that. We're doing it from a place of love and compassion. We're not angry because we individually have been taken advantage of. We're not angry because we individually are suffering. That sucks, yes. We are enraged because it's our brothers and our sisters, our mothers and our fathers and our neighbors and our grandparents and our children and the people around us that are suffering. If I were selfish and self-interested, I'd be a capitalist. I'd be a goddamn libertarian talking about how I just want everyone to leave me alone so I can get mine and everybody else can fuck off. But that's not how we're portrayed in America. In America, anarchists are just bomb-throwing vigilantes who hate cops because they hate everything. Socialists are daydreamers, or at worst, conspirators who want to subvert the American dream through some unexplained mechanism. Communists are big bad people who just want to recreate the USSR or China, and aren't those bad places? Communism's never succeeded. Communism's a failed ideology. I would love you to take a look at Cuba and Vietnam and then have this conversation with me. I almost went off on a college friend of mine today who's very much a libertarian. He's a good person, though. He's just so fucking wrong about some things. Posting on somebody's wall about, like, oh yeah, fascism and communism have both failed, and whatever it is that we have in the US right now is failing too. I'm like, buddy, all those are authoritarian systems. It's proving that authoritarian systems are not sustainable in ways that are conducive to human welfare. There are non-authoritarian kinds of communism. That's what we should be talking about. We have... Yeah. Wow. What the hell? Man, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I hate this world. I really do. I guess there was some plot in Wisconsin to kidnap the governor and other political authorities and, I don't know, usher in some sort of coup. I slept through it, and God, it speaks to the state of the United States that I'm not even surprised by. I'm completely unfazed when I read it. Stream dead or internet dead? I'm still seeing me. And I saw that go into chat, so it's not my end that's dead. Hooray! Not today. Comcast doesn't shit out at night, just the rest of the day. Yeah, things are terrible. Things are absolutely terrible in this country right now. And Washington is opening back up bit by bit. And the president is, well, you know. Congress is unwilling to give out any sort of aid or take any sort of leadership, meaningful leadership. The truth is they are presenting leadership. Their leadership is inaction and indifference, that the rich will protect themselves and the poor, well, society's got to keep running. It's too bad that they couldn't afford to stay home. They should have saved more. They should have spent more cleverly. They should have gotten a better job. It's their fault at the end of the day that they have COVID, not ours. We don't need to take responsibility for the welfare of our country. We just need to keep propping up businesses so everything runs and things continue as usual. Because at the end of the day, that's their platform. Status quo. They're liberals. They like how things are. They're oligarchs. They need things to stay as they are. if they're benefited by it and sustained by it. My dad asked me if I watched the vice presidential debate last night, and I said no. I laughed. I said I would never do that to myself. That, you know, Kamala Harris is a corrupt cop, which is to say a cop. And Mike Pence is... I'm from Indiana, okay? Yeah, none of us... Well, okay. Apparently, some Hoosiers are proud of Mike Pence. Fuck knows why. He is the most pent-up, self-loathing example of Christian extremism in the United States that I think I could come up with. I don't know. November's gonna suck. October, this is the calm before the fucking storm, and we just had an attempted coup in one of our states. Why the fuck would I get a job right now? What? Man, yeah, it's just... Eventually, I will get a job to survive, because that's the only reason why any of us work in the United States. The vast majority of us work because we need to survive, and it's the only way to survive. We don't do it because we love our jobs. We don't do it because we love the work. We do it because we have to. It's malicious and abusive and coercive. It is a coercive system, and participation is mandatory if you want to survive. But yeah, you know, Dragon Age 3, great demo. Alpha is, broken. It's a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna stop playing it because I've reached the point where some of the bugs have gotten frustrating to the point I got angry playing it last night. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? No, this is fun. Larian will make this good eventually. I should just pivot back to playing through Divinity Original Sin 2, start that over. Maybe this time don't let Sibyl kill that fucking lizard before the Red Prince talks to it so I don't fuck up their goddamn character arcs in the first goddamn area and then have my only save be after that. And that hasn't happened multiple times or anything. I want to be streaming. I don't know what the fuck to stream. I want to be playing things. I don't know what the fuck to play. Like, the world sucks right now, and we're all just kind of trying to survive. That's really where we're at, right? And I do feel like a broken record just going on about the shit I go on about. You know, it is what it is. Is Moobot dead? Let's see, did I kill Moobot? Yep, I killed Moobot. Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. I should not have used the uptime command. Its center top of the screen has an uptime indicator. I'm blind. Yeah, I think I'll wrap this up. This has been, hour and a half, and as far as these go, this has already gone on for a while. So, I'm alive. And as I said to my dad, I don't want to say I'm fine, because I'm not, but everything's normal. It's deeply disturbing that this is the new normal. If you got content you want from me, let me know. If not, well, thanks for hanging out all the same. I'll probably come around to streaming something and recording something sooner or later. I should push that TNO series to YouTube, but as I opened, I have some misgivings about how often I tend to veer into negativity. It's the same reason why that CK3 bitching video never went up. Is I know a lot of my brand, if you will, is my criticism and critique, but Man, the world is full of so much goddamn negativity right now. I really only want to put constructive critique out there if I'm putting critique out there. Live is one thing, but posting it after the fact is just like, I don't know, it's done and I should upload it because there's content and I need content, but I do not know. Do not know at all. But yeah, I'm gonna hop off of here. I think I'm gonna take a nice long bath. Light some candles. I want the most difficult decision for me for the rest of the night to be choosing between bath bombs or choosing between my lavender... No, hold on. Yeah, lavender eucalyptus bubbles or my, like, drawer full of bath bombs. I want that to be the hardest decision I make for the rest of the night. Yeah, I will be back, eventually. As always, Twitter or notifications on here are the best way to know when I'm going live. I do want to be live more often, but it's a struggle, my dudes. It's a struggle. So until later, I'm gonna say toodaloo. Take care. I will see you then. Bye-bye.